Hi, this is Jonas, aka Synsonic, and today I'm going to talk some about compression. And there are a few ways it can be done, and I'm going to talk about compression, sidechain compression, and parallel compression, and what differs these and what makes them do their thing. And let's begin with the regular kind of compression that you put on. I'm gonna do an example here. I have this compressor. I have on my bass main channel, and this is actually some channel of multiple bass lines, and there are actually 4 of these: the main bass, the main deep bass, the main deep 2, and bass fast main. These are the 4 sounds that goes through the same channel, the same bus, the bass main. And the reason for me to have this compressor on here is because I want them to stick better together, and compression can help when you layer sounds. It can help them to get glued together and be more as one. So let's play an example here, and this is from one of my latest releases actually. So here we have, so I'm gonna play the bass line and together with the kick. Here we go. It's very deep, this bass. We can do it like this. We have it and turn it off also. No kick. And I have this compressor pretty hard and tight because I want it to rumble and kind of be a part of the kick. I almost want the kick and the bass to be sort of the same thing in this track. I want, but they are not, because the kick always needs to be heard and get through anyway. But I want to give the kick a tone from the bass line. So that's why it's so deep. So what are the sounds we are mixing together here? Let's drop these in. Here's the first one. The top end. And the very, very deep. This one, this is actually so deep that the tone of it is not what you're looking for in here. It's more of the deep and the rumble, and this is the part where to make it, especially when with the kick, to make it so dark and deep. And with this compressor, they all get glued together, so they so they all can act as one. And we have, yeah, I forgot one. Sorry, this one too. This is more of the mid-range bassline, the main bass actually. And here we can play the full thing right here. Yeah. Okay, so that's one way you can deal with compression, and that is to glue sounds of layers together to get to feel more as one. And next up is compression sidechaining. And for that, we need to go down to, let's see, where are you? I'm looking for my, here they are. We can take this one. This is actually also a compressor. This is a multiband compressor. And this is used for sidechaining. And why I do this is on the bass line, mainly, actually. Actually, it can also be on like leads too, if they are very deep and so on. But this is to give space to the kick when it comes in, so the bass doesn't take up the space the kick needs in the mix, because a kick is still important. You usually don't want the bass itself to take over where the kick is. You want to hear the kick like bang, so you hear it, but you also want to hear the bass when the kick has done its job. You want to hear the bass fulfill and make it raw, make it complete. So the way this is done is by putting a multiband compressor. It's how I done it, and activate it for sidechaining. And what that means is you can take an external source, and me myself, I usually do a hidden channel with no output to the stereo bus, the master bus out. Yeah, and it's a short sound, like a very short hi-hat, because then I can adjust how fast the attack and the release should be on the sidechaining itself, because sidechaining it directly to the kick itself can actually make a pretty bad sidechain effect when it comes to kick and space, because a kick can, as a sample, can have a pretty long tail actually, but that tail of the kick sound is not always the most important part that needs to be heard of the kick for it to like do its thing. So therefore, I usually use a short sample, don't have it to output any sound, and just have it trigger the sidechain. You can do this another way also, and that is LFO tool, for example, like a volume shaper. And that's kind of faking this way of doing it, because then you can do a pattern how you want to trigger and lower volume of the bass line, for example. But I prefer doing sidechaining by compression, actually, because it gives me a better control of how it works in the mix, because I don't have to, especially with a multiband compressor, because then I don't have to drop away all of the sound. I can just, like you see here, I have a large piece below 2K here that is pretty much dropping pretty hard, but above it's not dropping that hard, and that's because the high part of the kick can come through of the sound in the mix, even though the bass is rolling. It's the low part I want away and want to be down and away for a while to give space for the kick, because the kick and the bass are both in the same low spectrum usually when it comes to how it sounds. So let's take a look. Yeah. Okay. And there is a third way to use compression, and that is parallel compression. And I actually don't use any parallel compression in this track, because I kind of like the sound of many of the sounds themselves as they were in its original form. But what parallel compression means is you treat the compression more as an effect than as a utility to make something work different. And what I mean by that is you use it like a reverb or a delay, for example. So what that means is, if we take a look at these, I have my crazy lead reverb and crazy lead delay. I could have here a channel called crazy lead parallel compression. And what I would do then is, from my crazy lead, that's up here somewhere, it should be yellow, here it is, and just here are my sends. These are two send channels. They send to each of those effect lanes down there, the crazy lead reverb and the crazy lead delay. So it would be a third one here called crazy lead parallel compression that was routed to my FX channels. What this does is you can get your original sound of the instrument itself, and if you put a compressor on the FX channel you have routed to, you can then squeeze that FX channel pretty hard, and when they play together, you can actually get a fatter, stronger sound than it was in its original form. And you can like tweak that some. I mean, both by volume, how much you want to hear of the compressed version of the sound, together with the source itself. And you can also tweak how hard you want that compressed sound to be compressed or over compressed even, and more see it as an effect than as a tool for compressing and gluing, making it more even. Yeah. So those are the three ways of compression I wanted to talk about in this video. So we'll see you next time. Cheers.